Part 2 Love story of Helen and Paris. At length, seeing that he was at a loss, Hera said to him, Prince Paris, give the apple to me and I will give you the gift of great power. Athene, not to be outdone by this offer, said, Prince Paris, give the apple to me and I will give you the gift of great wisdom. But Aphrodite laughed and said, Paris my dear, don't you listen to those two silly goddesses. What fun would you have with power or wisdom? Give the apple to me and I will give you a gift that is much more to your liking. I shall give you the love of the most beautiful woman on earth. Now Paris no longer found the choice so hard to make. He had long been in love with the most beautiful woman on earth, whose name was Helen. It so happened that Helen was married to King Menelaus, and Paris had thought up until that moment that the possibility of his winning her love was beyond all hope. But now he understood that his chances could be greatly improved, and so Paris gave the apple to Aphrodite. She giggled with delight, but the other two goddesses were furious and flew directly back to Mount Olympus in a great huff, where they complained long and bitterly to Zeus about the unfairness of the competition. Zeus had a dark feeling that there was trouble in store for humankind. Paris set sail for the land of Sparta, where Menelaus was king and lived with his beautiful queen Helen. Menelaus welcomed the famous prince into his palace, and while the two sat talking about the affairs of the world, Queen Helen came down from her perfumed room, looking as lovely as a goddess. The maidservants brought her a seat and covered it with a soft lamb's wool rug, and she sat before her silver-worked box. But before she began to embroider, she glanced over at the visiting prince and questioned her husband, Shall I guess the name of this prince who has come to visit us? Let us see if I am right or wrong. I have heard tell of a prince from far-off Troy who is famous the world over for his looks and fashionable style. Is it he, Paris, Prince of Troy, who has come to stay with us? My dear wife, said Menelaus, as always, you are quite right. It is indeed, Paris, Prince of Troy, who is paying us the honor of his visit. Paris acknowledged Queen Helen with a nod of his head. At dinner that night, Helen added a special potion into the wine, so that anyone who drank it would forget all his cares, and be happy for the rest of the evening. They feasted and made merry, and while Menelaus was busy laughing and joking with one of his generals, Paris spoke softly to Helen. Most beautiful queen, he said, I beg you, meet me tonight in the orchard beneath the palace walls and we shall sail away together in my ship, and head directly for Troy, the most magnificent city in all the world. And because the goddess of love, Aphrodite, had wished it so, Helen could not help herself, and agreed to his suggestion. When King Menelaus awoke in the morning, and he discovered that his guest and his wife had run away together, he flew into a rage, kicking the furniture and punching the walls of his chamber. He swore before all the gods that his revenge would be truly terrible, so he went to see his elder brother, King Agamemnon of Argos, and said to him, My dear brother, the honor of our family has been besmirched by this foreign peacock, this perfumed playboy, this prancing prince of Troy. Let us gather together all the kings of Greece and combine our armies into the greatest force that has ever been seen since the dawn of history, and let us sail to the far-off city of Troy, and teach Prince Paris some manners. Although Agamemnon was wise and he knew that it is always a terrible mistake to rush headlong into conflict, he suggested first, that they send an ambassador to Troy to request the return of Queen Helen, whom he was sure had been abducted against her will. He knew that Paris's father, King Priam of Troy, was a good man, and he was sure that he would order his son to release her, and so they sent a message to Troy in the name of peace and reconciliation. But Helen did not wish to go home, and Prince Paris refused to return the lovely queen to her husband, saying that they had been brought together by the goddess of love, Aphrodite herself, and so that meant war. King Agamemnon, the brother of the wronged Menelaus, summoned all the kings of Greece and prepared a navy of 1,000 ships, the greatest military force to ever set sail. And that is the story of how the great war between the Greeks and the Trojans was started by Prince Paris and Queen Helen.